Instead of planting all of my beds with like one type of flower this year, I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit more wild. I want to try weaving my different flower varieties together in some of the beds. I'm feeling a little bit more wild. Oof. These roots are not looking too hot. If anybody has any advice, hopefully I'm not killing this plant by repotting it, but we're gonna try to save it. Much like this situation, the garden situation, not looking too hot either. In my last video, I was just getting started on planning out all of my garden beds for our flower business. And then life got a little bit more exciting, and I had the opportunity to go to Paris with a friend of mine. And the trip was like so dreamy. I was on a chocolate brioche bender for like 10 days straight. It was the best problem I've ever had. And then I got back home and my problems got a little more interesting. I actually got like really sick the morning that we had to fly back. So my 10-day trip in Europe actually turned into 20 days away from the greenhouse, the gardens. It was a lot more time away from my responsibilities than I had planned on. I want to try weaving my different flower varieties together in some of the beds. To be completely honest, I lost a good portion of the plants that I had started in the greenhouse. I laugh because it hurts, and I don't know what else to do. That was so much time starting the seeds. It was so much time taking care of them, watering them, keeping them alive, and now they're gone. And I'm like very behind. So I've had to rethink things a little bit and just sort of pivot my original plans. So I've spent the last couple of weeks just like grinding away. Moving dirt, filling beds, planting, direct sowing a lot of seeds that I had lost, and just like planning out the beds more on the fly than my drawn out plan that I had. It's slightly awkward and embarrassing to tell you because I just told you that I wanted to plan differently this year and weave my flower varieties together, and that is not, it's a little bit more wild, really happening this year. Wild. Some of the beds are going to be intermixed with different flower varieties, but the majority of the beds are just going to be one type of plant per bed. We still do companion plant in some of those beds, but things are just not really following the original plan that I had in my head, and that is the lesson that I wanted to talk about today, that I've had to learn and accept about myself, about my life, about my plans. I always have these like big visions about how I want and expect things to turn out, and every year something squashes that plan. It could be things out of my control, like the weather. I know my first year we had like a late freeze at the end of May, and I lost so many plants. It was a tragic hit to my confidence. I also like didn't really know what I was doing, so I had like leggy seedlings, underwatered plants. I started so many things like way too early, which is actually still a fault of mine. I get too excited and I start things early, and we don't need to talk about that. So I've had to learn to let go of having such strong expectations about my plans. A little bit, you know, I'm still me. But every year I find that no matter how many dying plants that I cry over, or when I have varieties that don't grow as well or produce the way that I expect them to, I still have full gardens with so many flowers. Like, it's never a failure. It's just different than what I thought it was going to be. And that's okay. I just wanted to say that whether you're a new gardener or new at anything, just don't be so hard on yourself. Even if you're not new, don't be so hard on yourself. If things aren't going the way that you expected, it's still going to be okay in most scenarios. So let me know if you have any like garden failures, any garden woes. Let me know if things are going to plan or not going to plan. I would love to know, and I'll see you later. Feeling a little bit more wild.